Hi, I'm Mukund Parthasarathy, and I lead R&D for Dow's packaging and specialty plastics business. On behalf of Dow, I'm proud to bring you this SASE Pro Seminar series. It has been great partnering with SASE to provide employees in Dow and other companies with wonderful opportunities to connect with professionals that are passionate about developing Asian heritage talent. Before we get started, I would like to share with you a quick video highlighting some of the accomplishments from our employee resource group called the Asian Diversity Network. I thank you for attending, and I sincerely hope that you enjoy the series.
Good afternoon, everyone. I guess this afternoon. Oops. Yes, I guess this afternoon, everyone. Even the West Coast is in the afternoon. Hawaii, maybe not. So I don't know. Do we have anybody calling in from the Pacific Islands or Hawaii? Shout it out in the chat if you will. My name's Parag Matawar. I believe you can see the correct screen. Jessica, give me a thumbs up if you got the right one. Awesome, thank you. I'm Parag. I'm the Director of Professional Programs here at SASE. Put it in the chat as well. I mean, if you're new to us and have never been to a SASE event before, well, I'll walk you through what the heck we do and why we do it. So, and there is somebody else unmuted. I think you may have gotten them. There we go. So here's the deal. We've got this thing called the Asian leadership gap. Basically, Asians are 50% less likely than our white counterparts to get promoted to middle management. We're the only minoritized group who struggles to get promoted to middle management. Everyone struggles to get to executive levels. All non-whites struggle to get to executive levels, but Asians uniquely struggle to get to middle management. And that's Asians are 50% less likely to be promoted to middle management than our white counterparts, and we're the only group who struggles with this. So the way we see it at SASE, and let me get my cursor back. So the reason that we have a challenge is, what we've seen by interviewing executives is 4 common factors: the lack of political and organizational savvy, a cultural deference to authority, ineffective communication and influencing skills, and an aversion to risk-taking. Now, these 4 common factors, they are just common factors. It doesn't mean all of us have the exact same challenges, but we have a higher potential, higher likelihood, higher concentration of these types of challenges is what we've seen. The challenge as we see it is, first off, a lack of awareness, just that there's even an Asian leadership gap to begin with. The model minority myth exists, is pretty pervasive, and actually exists in our own community as well. Secondly is what to do about it. And what we've learned is that you need to train leadership skills with cultural context to be able to make a meaningful impact. Then last thing, let's face it, Asian development is often not exactly the highest priority for many companies, even in the DEI space. And so because of that, what we've done is we've partnered now with over 250 Asian ERG leaders and over 100 Asian ERGs to develop a suite of programs that everyone can participate, including this webinar series. And so this webinar series is a monthly free series. You will get emails on it if you signed up for that during the registration process. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. Features conversations with training partners like Sheena Yap Chan coming up in a moment. The recordings will stay up online at least 2 months, if not longer, depending on the trainer. And with that, the basic logistics here, and we're almost up to 300. Basic logistics here. We'll have a brief presentation from Sheena, and followed by a moderated Q&A with me, and then you can enter your questions, any questions you have, into the chat, and we'll bring those up as well. Additionally, with such a large audience, please do feel free to utilize the chat and ask each other questions and build a little bit of a network that way as well. And so with that, I want to turn it over to Sheena Yap Chan. I've heard about Sheena since I've been in this role for the past few years. She has, she'll tell you her story in a little bit, but I got to know her through a connection through the Asian Leadership Alliance, which is a group that was founded out on the West Coast for Asian ERG leaders. And so we connected, we chatted, we talked about this idea of bringing her for a webinar, and here she is. So with that, Sheena, I'm going to stop sharing and you can take it over.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Parag, and honored to be here today to talk about confidence, which is something that I've been studying and talking about since 2015. So today's talk, it's going to be about 5 ways to increase your self-confidence in career and life. So who's ready to learn more about confidence? Feel free to put a 1 on the chat, or raise your hand up, or put some emojis. I love it. Love all the ones. I love it. Let me just start my screen and we'll get going. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the share screen button. All right. Can everyone see my screen? Awesome. And then feel free to, write down any questions you have in the chat. I'll be trying to check as much as I can to see what's going on. But today we're going to talk about 5 ways to increase your self-confidence in career and life. So the talking points today is, first off, what is self-confidence? Why is self-confidence important? Some stats about the AEPI community and STEM, the 3-step process to build confidence, then 5 ways to improve your self-confidence in career and life, and last but not least, some conclusion actions that you can start taking. So before we start, you may or may not know me. So for those who don't know me, my name is Sheena Yap Chan, and you're wondering who is Sheena Yap Chan. So Sheena Yap Chan is a keynote speaker, consultant, and author on building self-confidence. I have a award-winning podcast called the Tao of Self Confidence, which has over 1.2 million downloads and counting. And I interview Asian women about their journey to self-confidence, because for me, it was really important to not only create a support system, but also representation, the right kind of representation. So I've interviewed over 700 Asian women on this topic from around the world, from different Asian backgrounds as well, because we're not a monolith. And I'm also the Wall Street Journal bestselling author on my current book, The Tao of Self Confidence, A Guide to Moving Beyond Trauma and Awakening the Leader Within. I currently live in Toronto, Canada. So if there's any Canadians in this chat, feel free. I don't know if you can put the little Canadian flag or just say I'm Canadian. I would love to see if there's any Canadians in the chat. I'll check really quickly. Let's see. Yes, I see 2. Isabel and Sunil. Yay! We got some Canadian. Oh, 3. So keep them coming. So that's a little bit about me. And a little fun fact, one of the reasons why I also wrote the book, The Tao of Self-Confidence, was also due to, Asian leadership, right? There was a report by catalyst.org that mentioned that when it came to women of color in C-suite and executive roles, leadership roles, Asian women was one of the lowest. We represented 2.7% in 2021. And so I wrote this book as a foundation to talk about the things we don't talk about, right? The taboos, the cultural barriers we go through, especially as Asian women. So that's a little bit about me. So next, first and foremost, what is self-confidence, right? Self-confidence is learning to trust in your skills and abilities. It is about accepting your strengths and weaknesses in a positive way. Self-confidence is also having the courage to take action to live the life that you want. I know sometimes we feel like we're not capable, we're not good enough, or we feel like there's someone else that's better out there, but you're more capable than you realize. And when you learn to build your confidence every single day, you'd be surprised at what you can accomplish. Why is self-confidence more important? Why is it so important? Self-confidence helps us face our fears. We all have fears, including myself, and it's okay to be scared. It's about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Self-confidence helps us to keep pushing forward and never give up when we hit roadblocks, frustrations, and challenges. Self-confidence teaches us to believe it before we see it. So those are some of the reasons why self-confidence is so important. Now, I also wanted to share some stats, especially with the AAPI community in STEM. This month is AAPI Heritage Month, so happy AAPI Heritage Month to everybody. In Canada, we call it Happy Asian Heritage Month, so happy Asian Heritage Month to everyone. And I actually saw this study yesterday, and I really want to share this because I thought this was really interesting. They said a study from eLife mentioned that Asian scientists receive about 20% below the overall rate in winning proposal grants from the National Science Fund, while Caucasian scientists have better chances in winning grants. So if you see this chart, it tells you what the averages are. So, if you're multiracial, it's positive 9.5%. Native Hawaiian Pacific Islanders is 11.3. I'm not sure what AI and AN is, but that's plus 13%. Latino, the Latin community is minus 2.1. So we actually have the highest when it comes to not getting enough grants, right? And I don't know if you feel that way, if there's any scientists in the room, if you can tell me if that's happened to you, you've put in a grant, you didn't get, you got rejected from it. There's facts that says that we have one of like the highest rate of not getting accepted in funds. So it was really interesting to show this, and I really wanted to share this graph with everyone just to see like, wow, this is, and this is just very recent too, right? This is like 5 years maybe. So yeah, so I wanted to share that. Some other stats. So 51% of Asian people in the US have attained a bachelor's degree or higher levels of education. With more than half of the Asian population earning higher education degrees, it doesn't make sense that the AAPI community makes up 18.4% of those employed in STEM occupations. Also, a study of diversity across a group of Silicon Valley tech companies where Asians represented about 50% of professional jobs, but only 36% of management positions, while our white employees represent 41% of professional jobs and 57% of management positions. So that's a big gap, right? And in STEM roles at a federal level, API represent 10.04%, while Caucasian women represent 66%. So those are some big numbers, right? And so I just wanted to share some of these stats. Feel free to share, what stats stood out to you the most. What was like a shock to you? Oh, thank you. AN is American Indian and Alaska Native. Thank you, Elise, for sharing that. But yeah, feel free to share in the chat. Which one did you think was shocking, or you already knew that? Feel free to share it in the chat. So next, I have a 3-step process when it comes to building confidence. It's simple, it's not easy, right? Simple doesn't always equate easy. Like, it's simple to lose weight, but it's not easy to get up to work out and eat right. Especially Asians, we love our food, we love our carbs. I mean, who doesn't love rice and noodles? I mean, I'm guilty. So so this is my 3-step process. First and foremost, step 1 is believe in yourself. I know this is cheesy. You've heard this every single day, but it is really important to believe in yourself, believe in your capabilities, believe in your worth, because without this, you're not going to go out there and do it. And what does that mean to believe in yourself? It just means that you're going to do it regardless of the outcome, right? Regardless if you fall down 10 times, you're going to get back up the 11th time, and you're just going to keep doing it until you get to that end goal. So, step 1, believe in yourself. As cheesy as it sounds, it really is important to believe in yourself. The second one is educate yourself, right? When I first started getting into learning confidence, I always used to think that you had to show up a certain way. I used to think you had to be loud and boisterous and be out there. And that was a myth. There's 8 billion people in this world. We're all not going to learn confidence the same way. So it's important to educate yourself and find ways to build confidence that works for you. So if reading a book works for you, great, read a book. If you don't like reading a book, maybe listening to an audiobook is what you use, then do that, right? I remember learning to meditate, right? I would put like a YouTube video on and start meditating and going, and then I would just fall asleep. And I would do that at least 20 more times. And I thought something was wrong with me. And I realized that just wasn't my thing, right? I realized jogging outside, being in nature, that's how I actually meditate. And I feel a lot better when I do that. So, pick and choose what works for you, trial and error. This is your journey. So you have to pick and choose what works for you so that you will go out there and make things happen. And last but not least, take action, right? Nothing happens if nothing happens. And I know sometimes taking action is hard. Trust me, I've been there. I've delayed it. I've procrastinated. Even till this day, I still procrastinate. But really, nothing happens when you take action. So the 3-step process is believe in yourself, educate yourself, and of course, let's take action. So I'm just going to hop on the chat really quickly to see. Love my carbs. Yes, right? Who doesn't love the carbs? I do too. Trust me. That's why I work out. I work out to eat. Next, 5 ways to increase your self-confidence in your career and life. So the first one is have a big purpose. Before you start anything, it's important to set your intentions and your foundation. Having a big purpose will help you build your confidence because you are striving for something that is bigger than you. Leading with purpose is a great way to connect with people of influence, especially when you are starting from zero. When I first started my podcast in September of 2015, I had no influence. I had no clue what I was doing. I started from zero. But I had a really big purpose. It was all about elevating the voices of Asian women, creating, dismantling the negative stereotypes we still go through. And so I always led with my purpose in everything I do, even till today. And I know SASE is also very successful because they have a huge purpose, right? They want to build more Asian leaders. They have this community where they can bring tools and resources for you. And so, they've been able to build such a great community and a big organization because they have a big purpose. And so your purpose doesn't have to be as big as mine or as SACE, it could just be you want to show your daughter what's possible for themselves, right? Every mother can relate to that, or every parent can relate to that. You just want to provide a better life for your kids or better life for your family. Like, any purpose you have, as long as it's bigger than you, then you're going to go out there and do it, right? It's like you're going to, move up to the next position in your work because you want to show your kids that you can move up, you can make things happen when you go out there and take action and, work smart. So have a big purpose. That's the first one. The next one is feel the fear and do it anyway. Now, I always say to be fearless, it doesn't mean you have no fears. It's the opposite. It's acknowledging your fears and doing it anyway. The only way to punch fear in the face is to push through them. Sorry, that's like the only way. Unfortunately, yes, it's scary and uncomfortable. I've been there, but the more you keep on doing it, the more confidence you will have in yourself. Now, I would delay myself all the time because I was always afraid to go out there and just take the first step. I remember doing my first YouTube video and it was about how cool it was to work from home before working from home was a thing. And this was like back in 2014 or 2015. And I was going to do a 2-minute video. It took me 2 hours to record a 2-minute video. Like I would, record it, say something. I would fumble, turn off the video and re-record again. I would say something, I would fumble again. For 2 hours, I did that. And I finally got my first 2-minute video. And, I just kept doing it, right? I don't say practice makes perfect. Practice actually makes progress. So the more you keep doing it, the better you will get at it and that fear will go away. And sometimes, I tell myself, if this is the worst thing that can happen and I can deal with it, then I'm going to go ahead and do it. I remember 3 years ago, I was actually a guest for CGTN, which is the biggest like TV network in China, right? And when the producer approached me to be interviewed, I did not know how big they were. I checked Facebook, they had 110 million followers. I almost had a heart attack. I was live in a primetime TV show with this award-winning host, and they were talking about the Atlanta shooting that happened 3 years ago. And the host asked me this question, and I literally blanked out on national Chinese TV for about a good 10 seconds. And you're like, 10 seconds is nothing, but when you're on TV, 10 seconds feels like an eternity. So if the host did not give me a follow-up question, I probably would have blanked out more on TV. But guess what? The interview was over and I didn't die. If that was the worst thing that can happen, blanking out for 10 seconds on national Chinese TV, like I can conquer anything. I told myself I was invincible. So sometimes we might have to go through these situations and just tell you, I always tell myself I didn't die. I'm still here. I'm still thriving. I can make it happen. So, if there's any fears that you wanna overcome today, maybe today's the day. And I love that. Yes, progress, not perfection. I have this sticky note on my monitor. I love that. And yes, 10 seconds is a long time. So yeah, and especially on national live television, it was really, really scary. So feel the fear and do it anyway. Next is keep moving forward. Life will always throw you curveballs, roadblocks, and setbacks, but it's how you react to them that counts the most. If you keep pushing through and moving forward, your confidence will soar because it's proof that you can overcome anything that life will throw at you. Just remember that life can be tough, but so are you. I mean, I think the lockdown in 2020 was one of the biggest setbacks we ever went through, right? We were all locked down at home. We had no clue what we were doing. We were watching endless K-dramas because we didn't know what to do, or maybe that was just me. But we pushed through and we kept moving forward. We found ways to pivot. I mean, pivot was the word of 2020, right? And we just keep moving forward until here we are today, right? Talking about this. So yes, life isn't always, great. Unfortunately, it's a roller coaster. It's going to be, full of ups and downs, curveballs, but it's how we keep moving forward. And most successful people are successful because they push through those setbacks, right? They turn their setback into a comeback. So if there's something that you're struggling in life, you're not the only one. We all go through it. Maybe sometimes we just don't talk about it because it's not sexy, but we all go through it. You are not alone in this journey. And I believe you can overcome whatever you're dealing with today. So keep moving forward. Next, become a go-getter. If you want something, you have to go out there and get it. That means you will have to learn to make the first move to make things happen. Becoming a go-getter will help you become resourceful, action-oriented, and really boss up your confidence. None of this stuff would have happened to me if I didn't go out there and make the first move. And making the first move isn't always easy, especially as a woman. You're not taught to make the first move, right? I mean, we look at all the Disney movies, right? We always see the princess being saved by the prince. So we think in real life, we're waiting for someone to save us, when really there's no one saving us. It's us. We got to go out there and take action. And so, 80% of the things wouldn't have happened if I just didn't go out there and make the first move, whether it's to ask someone to buy a book or to ask how to connect with SASE. Like I wouldn't be here today if I didn't connect with Khan, right? And then he connected me with Parag, and then I'm here today to do a webinar session, right? I know it's scary. I get it, right? Because sometimes we're afraid of rejection. We're afraid we're going to get turned down. But if nothing happens, nothing happens. So it's better off going out there, making that first move and getting a result versus getting no results at all. If I wasn't a go-getter, like I wouldn't be able to have a book published by Wiley, right? Which is something I never thought would ever happen in my life. Like I did not think it was in my cards. And the fact that I'm currently writing a second book with them is just wild to me. But that wouldn't have happened if I just didn't go out there and make the first move and become a go-getter. So become a go-getter. Especially like in leadership, right? We have to make that first move. And I know it's scary. It's very scary. But, this is why you're in organizations like SASE, because, you don't have to do it alone, which gives me to the next one, which is ask for help. Asking for help is one of the greatest ways to build your confidence. Most people think you have to go on this journey alone, but it's the total opposite. There is no shame in asking for help. In fact, seeking help was one of the biggest factors of building my self-confidence. You can ask for help by joining a women's group, joining a mastermind, hiring a coach, seeking a mentor, attending a virtual summit, or having an accountability partner. Now, I know in our culture, we've constantly been told not to ask for help because it's a sign of weakness or we're asking for a handout. But you know what? We have to help each other out, because if not, we're not going to move forward and create the changes that we want in our community as fast, because we feel like we have to do everything ourselves. And it's exhausting, right? That's how we go through burnout, having low self-confidence, feeling not good enough, because we think we have to do everything ourselves. And I still deal with this until now, right? Even though I talk about confidence and I've done a lot of work, I still also have a lot of unlearning to do because of how I was brought up, right? Sometimes when people are like, what can I help you with? And I freeze. I literally freeze because I'm like, oh, I don't want to ask because then it's a handout, then they're gonna think I'm being desperate. No, right? This person is offering me, and I should just say, yes, I actually do need help, right? And there's no shame in that. In fact, there's a lot of confidence when asking for help. So today, I want you to realize asking for help is not a weakness, is a strength. It's better when we do things together to build confidence together. Because it's lonely when you do things by yourself, right? And you're here for a reason because you want to be part of something. You're looking for tools and resources to help you along the way as well. So don't be afraid to ask your help. You can only do so much. It's been a good experience to ask for help and offload things that are not important. Yes. I struggle with asking for help. I'm working on it. We are all working on it. So don't worry. I'm there too. Thanks for naming that. It is very true in the Asian culture. I am loving that the people are just, sharing these in the chats. Any tips on how to find an accountability partner or mentor? We will leave that last for the questions. Yeah, none of that lose face, save face mentality. Ask for help. I like that ask is in caps, Conrad. So thank you. So I love that. I love all the things that's in the chat, and I will get back to the question once we're done. So in conclusion, here's some action steps to start bossing up your confidence. Take small steps. Build your confidence one step at a time. What yields the huge results? It's the small daily actionable steps. So I get a lot of people ask me, how do you write a book? How do you write a book? I said, this is how you want to write a book. It doesn't matter how long it takes you. It's how, you just get it done, right? Let's say if you decided to write 1 page a day for a year straight, towards the end of the year, you would have one very long book or 2 books, right? Because you were committed to doing that small step of writing 1 page a day. Nothing, I always say Rome wasn't built in a day, so don't expect yourself to do the same thing. Sometimes taking that big leap can actually damage your confidence, right? You take that big leap, you didn't make that goal, and then you feel bad about yourself. So this is why I say just take small steps, right? Even if it's like jogging, like when I started jogging, I did like 5 minutes and I was already like out of breath, but I kept doing it and doing it. And I can run an hour straight without like being out of breath because I just took the small daily actionable steps to get there. So take small steps, pick what works for you, try out different ways to build your confidence and pick the ones that you enjoy doing. You have to have fun when you're in your journey, right? Life is short. You don't want to do something that you're like, oh, why do I got to do this? Oh, this is exhausting, right? Do something that works for you and that you enjoy. And last but not least, this is something that our culture doesn't do, but celebrate every success. Learn to celebrate every success, no matter how big or small it may be. I remember during the lockdown when, virtual backgrounds were a thing on Zoom. So I still had an older laptop where I literally had to buy a green screen so I can have that virtual background. And I was trying to figure out how to put the virtual background on my green screen. Unfortunately, it went on my top. And I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to make this work? This is not going to work properly. And I don't know what I did. I pressed a button and the virtual background went on the actual green screen. And I was so happy. I felt like I won the lottery and I was sharing with everybody like I was a genius. But, it really is important to celebrate every single success. I know culturally we've been told not to brag, not to say anything, not to share your achievements. But you know what? In order for us to empower each other and show others what's possible, we really need to celebrate our success. We really need to share out our achievements, what we've been able to accomplish. So if there's something you want to celebrate today, put it in the chat. I want you to celebrate like there's no tomorrow. Plus, it's API Heritage Month. We were meant to celebrate all our success today and for the month of May, and even after that or before that. So these are the 3 things that I would want you to start doing to help you in your journey. And if you want to connect with me, I do have my website, SheenaYapChan.com. And then you can also scan this QR code, which takes you to my book, The Tao of Self Confidence, if you want to get a copy. If you send a proof of purchase, I also have a digital bonus called 101 Ways to Build Your Self-Confidence. And also, if you search my name, Sheena Yap Chan, I'm literally the only Sheena Yap Chan on the internet. So I'm not really that hard to find, which is a great thing. And so we're going to go to the questions. Let me just stop sharing. I hope everybody enjoyed today's talk. And so there was one person who asked about finding the right mentor and accountability partner. I think when it comes to finding that right person, it's learning to trust our own instincts and gut feeling, right? I know that's easier said than done. Coming from somebody who always ignored their gut feeling, Sometimes you have to pick someone that you can vibe with, that you can get along with, who can also like kind of nag on you a little, tug on you, like, hey, did you do it? Hey, did you do it? And so trial and error, right? Pick someone that you think would be a great person if they're okay with it. Make sure you guys get along. Make sure like that you have that, that you can get along, right? Because that's important. Because this is someone you're going to talk to like every week, every month, every day, or every 3 days. So for me, when it comes to that, pick someone that you think would be good for you, or you can also hire someone, right? There's like people out there whose specialty is accountability. Let's see. Are you going to share the presentation with us? Yes, I will. The group, the admin does have a copy, so you can share. Actually, I'm going to resend the presentation because I had a grammar mistake, so I'm going to resend it after this, and you guys can have a copy of that. No problem. I'm glad you enjoyed the advice. Okay, let's see. Spring cleaning, one item room at a time. I received my notary license. Yay, congrats, Lene. I hope I said that right. Spring cleaning, yes. Cleaning is also a big achievement, especially when you're trying to like Marie Kondo your life. I totally get that. SASE YouTube also has recordings. The recording will be sent to the webinar. Thanks, Jessica. If there's any questions, feel free to raise your hand or drop it in the chat. Don't be shy. One of the things I always say, if you don't ask, the answer is no.
I've got a ton of questions. So,
Okay.
and as we wait for other questions to come in, and so forth. So, how the courage piece was a very important one. Um, how did you, do you have any stories about how you gained the courage to have courage even to actually get out there? Like, because it is culturally, that is not something that is emphasized to us, right? We are risk averse. So like what got you over the hump to even start the podcast or to just put yourself out there?
I think for me, it was really having people who had my back, who would really encourage me to just put it out there. Like one of my friends, his name's Mark Anthony. He was just like, just put it out there. If you fail, you fail. I mean, at least you put it out there, right? You have something that's going to change the world. And if you just keep on delaying it, nothing's going to happen. And so having that community, having a group of people who will encourage you is really important because like I mentioned, it can get very lonely. And we have a lot of blind spots when we're on our own. And so we
Mhm.
need people to check those blind spots to show us like, hey, this is actually stopping you from moving forward. Or hey, why is this bothering you? Why is this triggering you? Is there a story in your life that really like is that's triggering your brain to stop you from moving forward? So even now, I also have a women's community where we help each other out, we talk to each other, we pump each other up, we share all our vulnerabilities that we're going through. So like the good, bad, and the ugly, right? I think that's really important because when we can have a group of people who is just cheering for us, like it makes a difference in the world. And especially like going your own path, sometimes it's not always easy when there's family who don't understand what you're doing,
Right.
right? They're like, why don't you get a job? Or why don't you get married? Like those are the two things they'll tell you to do. Not that it's bad. I have nothing against that, right? I mean, of course you do what works for you and what makes you happy, but it's like I was trying to do something different, right? I was fortunate that my parents decided to migrate from the Philippines to Canada for a better life. And to them, better life meant a 9 to 5 job. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. If you love your job, that's great. I mean, if there was a job that I love, I would, I wouldn't leave, right? But I also realized, okay, if this is my chance to do something better, why don't I do something bigger, right? Is it scary? Yeah, it is scary. But sometimes, you know, um, you just never know where it can land. Like you could write a book, you could, connect with people of influence. Like last month I was in LA, I got to meet Lisa Ling in person and give her a copy of my book. And that was just like one of the biggest highlights ever in my trip to LA. Like I love Lisa Ling. I love that she's been able to elevate our community and just be, just to have someone who paved the way for us because I never had that growing up in Toronto when I was like, a child. And all of this stemmed from like not seeing myself in TV or not seeing someone that looked like me in the media. So this is why I do the work that I do. I know there's some questions in the chat, so I'm gonna
Yep.
answer some of them to sorry, I was trying to scroll down. Okay, so we have one from Hawina. I hope I said that properly. My boss is Caucasian. How can I help him understand our Asian nature of being shy sometimes? One of the things I was really able to do is just have a one-on-one conversation with my boss. There was one point where, I got in trouble for something and I literally just broke down and cried in front of my boss because I was doing a job of two people and he was getting mad at me for one small mistake. And I was telling him, I'm doing the best that I can. I'm doing two people's jobs. If I know making mistakes can get costly, but like sometimes I have no support and it's really frustrating sometimes that I'm going through this, right? So I think sometimes having that one-on-one conversation, just telling him, hey, this like just having that human connection and conversation, I think is important. Like I remember there was another lady who decided to go up to her boss to just have a coffee chat, right? And a lot of people told her not to do it. And I told her, just do it. You already set up that coffee chat. It will look worse if you didn't, right? And so she did. It was half an hour of her life and she said it went well. So, she was just happy that she made that happen. So maybe just having that one-on-one conversation, just kind of talking about it and sometimes that can make a difference. For me, that's what I was able to do, just having that one-on-one conversation. So I hope that helps out. The next person, let's see. Do you know of leads on paid accountability coach or professor mentors? I will I will have to check. I mean, I do know a ton of like business coaches, life coaches. So if you want, I can feel free to send me a message. You can just go through my website and I can give you a list of people that would be great for accountability. Oh yes, another Filipino. Yes, born and raised I was born in Cebu City. I was actually in the Philippines earlier this year. Have you ever experienced a higher expectation or standard placed on you compared to your peers, especially as you started risking failure? How did you maintain your internal motivation? Oh, that's a good question. When you're out there and you're a public figure, there's always pressure, right? You feel like you always have to show up a certain way. You can't make mistakes. You can't look stupid. I mean, when someone asks me a question and I don't know what the question is, I'll have this look like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm supposed to answer. And if I don't answer it, then I feel stupid. And so sometimes I put so much pressure on myself, not realizing I'm a human being, right? And I need to stop comparing myself to others, especially culturally. We've been compared to everybody, to your cousins, to your friends, to your friends' friends, whether who has the better grades or who has the better wedding. All our life we've been compared to. So we have to learn to unlearn that. And also failure, I failed kindergarten in the Philippines for coloring outside the lines. And so that actually carried on with me until my adult life, thinking that everything I did in my life was an instant failure. And so I had to see failure as not a bad thing, but as a good thing, right? If I failed, it means I'm taking action and I'm doing something, and I'll find a way to correct it as I go. So it did take a lot of unlearning on my part, like knowing my worth, knowing that it's okay to make mistakes, learning to just kind of put the blinders on and just be in my own and learning to say like it's okay if you don't know what your next step is, especially like when I launched the book last year, it hit the Wall Street Journal bestseller list. Everyone was like, what's your next step? What's your next move? And I literally didn't have any move, and I was so afraid to say I don't know because then people might think I was stupid or something, I was just not good. It's like you just had this cool thing and you don't have anything else next. And it's like, well, can I just like celebrate this moment instead of thinking about my next move? And so for me, when it comes to internal motivation is my purpose. Why do I do the things that I do is really to elevate our community, to dismantle the stereotypes we still go through today. And that's what keeps me moving forward. If without that, I mean, I wouldn't even be here today. So I hope that answered your question. How do you find, sorry, I'm trying to scroll the questions. Let's see. How do you find that support system when you're not extroverted or good at connecting with others? I mean, support can be different for every single person, right? I'm sure there's a lot of groups out there that cater to introverts. So, there's coaches out there that caters to helping introverts, but support can also mean just attending these webinars, reading a book, listening to a podcast, right? Just being able to hear someone else's story that you can relate to can make a big difference in the world, right? Maybe you're a single mom who's trying to figure everything out, right? That's a lot of single moms. I mean, that's most moms, right? They're always trying to figure things out. They're always trying to do 1,000,001 things. Or maybe you were a shy kid at school, right? There's a lot of people who are shy kids at school, or maybe you were bullied, right? There's a lot of stories where you can resonate. So maybe listening to a podcast can be your support. Or for me, what I love doing is listening to people's interviews. Like I remember when Kihui Kwan was just talking about his comeback story. Like I cry all the time because I understand his struggle and what he had to go through to get to where he is today. Like even after he filmed Everything Everywhere All at Once, nobody knew that for a whole year after that, he didn't have any other jobs lined up for him. He lost his health insurance, and all he asked his agent was I at least good in that movie, right? And his agent assured him, and look where he is today, right? So hearing those type of stories, I realized I am not the only one who goes through pain and struggle. I'm not the only one who eats my feelings when I'm feeling depressed. Like other people go through this, and that can be a form of support. So, sometimes we think support looks one way, but it can look different ways for different people. So I hope that can help you out. How do you oh, sorry. I'm gonna go back to the one. I'm trying to have them in order. So if there's any questions that I missed, just feel free to raise your hand up, and you can even come on, like they're allowed to come on the screen and ask the questions, correct?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so feel free to come up. We'd love to hear your voice to the Zoom screen. Imposter syndrome is huge for me. There's always an inner voice telling me I might not be doing a good job. Your point about do it anyway helps us a lot. We all go through imposter syndrome. I mean, when I got approached by Wiley to write this book, I had major imposter syndrome. I was like, are you sure you want me to write this book about Asian women and leadership? I know nothing about leadership, or I thought I knew nothing about leadership. And it wasn't until another lady who just told me, you need to write this book. I said, okay, I will write this book. I will figure it out. I mean, I had to write this book in less than 3 months to have it out for Asian Heritage Month last year. And so I still go through major imposter syndrome, and we all go through that, right? We feel like we're not good enough. There's someone better out there. And sometimes I look at imposter syndrome, sometimes it could be a good thing, right? It's just a reminder that you can do it. Like just fear, right? Fear is just a sign that you're just ready for that next part of your life, taking the next step. And so yes, it's scary, and it can be like it feels like this big thing, but you're more than enough to like go out there and make it happen. So, we all go through imposter syndrome. It's like the number one thing. I think they mentioned like 70% of employees go through imposter syndrome. So you're not the only one. And sometimes knowing that we're not the only ones who go through it just makes things a lot easier, right? We're like, oh, this is normal. And I'm not the only one going through this. I don't know how related this might be, but I heard of this quote online and I thought I'd share it. Never grow so big that you are afraid to ask questions. It's okay to admit you don't know everything, and chasing pride is a path of failure. I love that because I'm that person. I don't know everything, but I feel like I have to. And pride can be the biggest thing to just get in your way, right? We think we have to know everything. We have to be that expert, not realizing we don't have to know everything. I definitely don't know everything about confidence. I know a little bit more than most people, but I don't know every single thing. And that's why when people ask me and I have like this look like, oh my God, I don't know what my answer is going to be. I don't even know if I can answer this properly. It just goes to show like we're all human, right? It doesn't matter how much studying you've done. We've all been there. So thank you, David, for sharing that quote. I really love that. And I think it's just a great reminder that it's okay to say, I don't know sometimes, or just say we don't know everything. How do you continue to build confidence and be confident when biases are everywhere, especially when we constantly see Caucasian employees getting promoted? Yeah, that is a tough one. And sometimes we feel very demotivated, and myself included, right? Like, I mean, as a speaker, I get rejected a lot all the time. I hear that my male Caucasian counterpart gets paid 5 times more than I do, or he gets paid and I don't. And yeah, it can be debilitating, right? There's days where I just like, why am I even doing this, right? Like this sucks. Unfortunately, this is what happens. And sometimes I have to pick and choose what makes sense and learn to keep moving forward. And I'm not saying like I'm going to take every single thing and not get paid, but also at the same time, we have to set boundaries. We have to figure out, what is our purpose? Does this align with our purpose? Will it take us to the bigger picture? And this is why having these support systems are important, right? Because we want to know what is it that we really want, right? Like there's this one lady who she's Asian. She was the first woman who became the first woman who became the general manager of any major sports team, right? She was a general manager for the Miami Marlins, but people didn't realize that she got rejected by 5 other teams. And if anyone's a baseball fan, I think you might know her name because I know her last name is Ng and I keep forgetting her first name, but every baseball fanatic who knows her always says she has an amazing track record, and if she was a white man, she would have gotten that position already. But she kept on fighting for that position, and she finally got that position with the Miami Marlins and took him to the World Series for the first time in like 20 something years. And actually, she's not with the team anymore because they hired someone outside, and she knew her worth and knew when to step down. So that's what I mean, right? If it's like to her, she realized that she just needed to be that first one to do it. And now that because she knows her worth, she knew how to step down and realize there's other people out there who will know her worth. So yeah, it's not easy. Nobody, sometimes it's not easy, right? But we also see like what's the end game? What's the end goal? Should we always go and try for promotion or higher role even when we're not sure if we're ready for it? I know this question has a lot to unpack because the deeper level question might be we're not confident enough or related to imposter syndrome. To be honest, most people don't know what they're doing. Even the ones you see that are like big influencers, half the time they don't know what they're doing. They're just figuring it out as they go. And I'm not saying don't go and just try to figure out as you go. You can also prepare yourself, right? Tell them why is it you're the candidate for that position. Give them the results that you've created, give them the feedback that you've gotten from employees, right? I say if you don't ask, the answer is always no. If you're never going to know unless you go out there and try. But if you feel unsure, start researching why you're that person for the role. Start giving, valid reasons as to why. And, even if you don't get it, at least you were able to give those valid reasons, right? I mean, of course, preparing and organizing and still doing it doesn't always mean you'll get it, but at least you prepared for it and you feel good about yourself. But there are people out there who just wing it. They just wing it. They go out there and do it. And if they get the result, they're happy that they were able to do it and just get a result. But if you're really serious about it, prepare for it. And then if you didn't get the job or the promotion, then ask them, well, why didn't I get it? What can I work on to improve on it? So I hope that kind of helps it out. I'm trying to see. I would still go for it. The worst you can get is no, learn from it and get better. I love that everyone's also giving answers. Thank you. I like to go on informational interview to learn from the incumbent on that role. That way I know that what I may be getting into and it fits me at this point in my career and phase in life. I love the support that the audience is giving each other. This is great. And this is what we all should be doing, right? I took a lateral step. I didn't want to be a manager anymore. The key is having confidence in your ability to learn on the job. You totally should go for it. No one wants to be 100% qualified for a role. It will be boring. You need space to learn. So thank you to the audience who gave feedback. I think that's great. Let's see, where else? Sorry, it went all the way down to the latest message, so I'm just scrolling it. Who's enjoying this talk? Feel free to just share, put a 1. Just like if you gained anything from it, just feel free to have that. You are a wonderful speaker with a great message. Thank you, Nicholas. I appreciate that. As an Asian mom, how to raise your kids being confident in a diverse culture in the US. I don't know if I'm the right person to be that because I'm not a mom. I have nephews and goddaughters, and I do my best to teach them to be themselves, to show up as their authentic self. Especially my nephews are biracial, they're Chinese and Lebanese. So I try to actually incorporate both cultures. I don't want them to feel like, both cultures don't accept them because they're biracial. I want them to be accepted and be proud that they come from 2 cultures versus 1. And I think it's, learning to help them just be their true selves, right? We live in a world where, there's filters everywhere, like everything is surface level. the more we can show up as our authentic selves, then, you know, we can show them like it's okay to be yourself. You can be you and still be confident and still thrive and be successful. So I hope that's that can help out. You need to monitor your behaviors and challenge yourself to be out of your comfort zone. Get exposure is a key thing. Thank you for sharing that. Kim Ing, thank you for yes, that was the lady who was the first woman, not first Asian woman, first woman to have a general manager role in any major sports team. So we should actually celebrate that as a big win. You're a very confident and well-spoken young lady. Oh, I really appreciate you calling me young lady because I'm actually in my 40s. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. Very informative and relatable. Thank you. You're so awesome. I can so relate. I am African American and this conversation is amazing. I'm going to, oop, it went up. I'm going to listen to your oh, sorry. the chats were just going down. Now I can't even find, but thank you. Thank you. I'm trying to find the message. I'm going to purchase your book and listen to your podcast. Thank you. Thank you. 40 is young. Thank you. How do you build the confidence to stand up for yourself and navigate workplace conflicts? Now that's always very tricky, right? And especially as someone who hasn't been in the workplace in a while, I had to deal with women who didn't like me, you know, and I thought fighting with them was the answer, but I actually just did the opposite. This is what I did, right? I was just nice to them. I just said, you know what, if I'm nice to them, they can't really do anything, right? What are they gonna do? Fight someone who's nice to you? Like, I just offered, do you need help? Do you need help with this? And that was my way of dealing with it because for the longest time, I was so frustrated and I didn't understand why these women did not like me. You know, I didn't do anything to them. I did my work. I came in on time, you know, went home later than normal. And I just realized, you know what, treat them with kindness, right? And that might not be the right answer for some, but that worked for me. And it actually, instead of them actually hating on me, they were actually a lot nicer after that. And when they left, they actually regretted that. They had regrets saying like, you know, actually she did a really great job and I'm just kind of sad she's not in the office anymore. So I hope that kind of helps out. And let's see. Oh, I love more of the audience giving advice to each other. I love this. I know we have about 7 minutes left. We do have another. Yes, kill them with kindness. That was the term I was trying to get. Thank you for your response. No problem. Oh, let me see. The chats are just going up and down, up and down. Let's see. I am. Let's see what else is here. Oh, I love everyone who's just sharing just advice to each other. And this is, you know, as a community, that's what we do, right? We have each other's back. So sometimes your accountability partner could just be within these group of amazing people who attended or who's in the organization. So you never know, you're just one person away from your life, you know, being changed. So any other questions that anybody has? Or, oh, here. How do you navigate through work while you're trying to avoid putting out those typical Asian women's stereotypes? Example being, oh, sorry, that was direct. I'm so sorry. I will answer that. Feel free to send me that message on the website. I didn't, my apologies. Any other questions, anybody? Just feel free. Thank you for the great session. No problem. Also, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm actually on LinkedIn a lot. That's the main social media I like sharing my information, what's going on, what's happening. So just search my name, and then to the ones who sent me a private message, feel free to share that question and we can hop on and just kind of have a chat, a virtual chat. So yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So what's next for you, Sheena, then?
Oh, see, when I had that question, I would have anxiety, but I don't. And the answer is not, I don't know. So that's another good thing, but it would be okay too if I said I didn't know.
Absolutely.
Next week, I'll be heading to Washington, D.C. I'll be part of a panel for the U.S. Department of Transportation for their API Heritage Month. So I'll be one of the panel speakers, which is awesome. And just didn't think that would ever happen. So I'll be going there for about 3 days. I'll have some events there too with some other women. Someone's doing a dinner. So if you're in the DC area, message me. I'll send out some of the events that's happening. There's a dinner event, a networking event, There's also a dim sum event. So whoever loves dim sum, you know, message me. I'll share all the links. I know that also there's a link to register if you do want to attend the U.S. Department of Transportation event that's happening on May 16th. So if we're connected on LinkedIn, or just, you can also go to my website, Sheena Yap Chan. There's a contact form out there. Yes, dim sum for the win. Exactly. You had
I
me
think,
at dim sum, right? Food. We love our food.
I think Khan's going to be there, so our CEO is going to be there as well.
Oh,
In the
yes,
end of the week,
because
so I'm sure you'll bump into him.
there's Asian prom happening,
Asian
right?
prom,
Yes.
exactly. So I don't recall hearing about this, but yeah, that's cool. So Asian prom next week. And so yeah, I'm sure you'll bump into him there. So, with that, folks, we are pretty much at the wrap. So I'm gonna steal the screen share here real quick. We've got a brief poll for everyone if you can. So Jessica, if you can fire that up. There are 3 questions on here, from 1 to 10, 10 being phenomenal, 1 being not so good. But I'm sure we're going to get all 10s here. So we're going to leave that up for a bit. There's 215 people still in the room. So hopefully we can get the vast majority of those, because remember, anything less than 100 is an Asian F, right? So it has to be 100. But with that, this series will continue next month on June 4th. Dr. Eugene K. Choi, on how to know you're making great decisions, proven by science. That title is extremely enticing. Proven by science. That's what we like as scientists and engineers. That way we know definitively that the questions that or the decisions we are making are spot on correct. So I'm pretty excited about that one. These slides are old. Women's Leadership Conference was a couple weeks ago. So we had a phenomenal event. We've got an Asian Women in Tech conference that is in person on June 13th. For anyone in the Bay Area, if you're interested, you can go to awit.saseconnect.org, and Jessica will pop that into the chat here in a moment. And then our national convention, our big event each year, is in October in Boston. So we'll be publishing more about that in the coming months on LinkedIn. We'll feature easily 15 trainers, probably close to 1,000 professionals. We've haven't even opened up registration, and we're nearing 300 paid registrations already. So it will be a very large, phenomenal event featuring lots and lots of trainers like Sheena Yap Chan on a variety of topics. There'll be close to 10 concurrent tracks, if not more, meaning you can kind of pick and choose your own path, what resonates with you, what are the key topics you want to work on, and it'll be a huge opportunity for you. So October 9th through 12th in Boston, if you want to put that on your calendars. Most of you are coming to us via ERGs, and your ERG leaders will have that information as well. So with that, I wanted to thank again Sheena Yap Chan. Thank you so much for spending an hour with us, and for everyone else, we hope to see you next month.
Thank you again. And thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.